Sometimes the person you need most shows up exactly when you've forgotten how to ask for help. The rain started without warning. Like most things that change your life forever, Alex had been sitting at his kitchen table, staring at his laptop screen for what felt like hours. The cursor blinked mockingly at him as he tried to finish his work report. 3 months had passed since his roommate Jake moved out, and the apartment felt too quiet these days. The only sounds were the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing by outside. He lived on the second floor of an old building downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a living room that doubled as his office. The rent was reasonable, which mattered since he was paying it all by himself now. Most evenings went like this: work until late, grab some dinner from the fridge, watch something on his laptop, then sleep. The weather forecast had mentioned possible storms, but Alex hadn't paid much attention. He rarely watched the news anymore. Life had become a routine of work, sleep, and trying to figure out what came next. At 28, he sometimes wondered if this was all there was to adult life. That's when he heard footsteps running up the stairs outside his door. Heavy, urgent footsteps taking 2 steps at a time. Then came the knocking. Not a polite tap, 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 but the kind of knocking that means business. Alex closed his laptop and walked to the door, wondering who could be visiting this late on a Tuesday night. Alex. "Open up, it's me!" He recognized the voice immediately. Mia, his childhood friend who lived across town. They'd grown up next door to each other, spent countless summers building forts and riding bikes until the streetlights came on. But what was she doing here? Alex opened the door and got his answer. Mia stood in his doorway, completely soaked from head to toe. Her usually perfectly styled hair was plastered to her head. Her business suit was dripping water onto his doormat. She looked like she'd been swimming fully clothed. "The storm came out of nowhere," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I was walking back from my interview downtown when the sky just opened up. Your place was closest." She stood in his entryway, water pooling around her feet. But instead of looking embarrassed or uncomfortable, she was smiling. That same fearless smile he remembered from when they were kids. The smile she wore when she convinced him to jump off the high diving board at the community pool, or when they decided to build a treehouse that was definitely too high for 2 10-year-olds. "You look like you fell in a lake," Alex said, grabbing some towels from the bathroom closet. "Feels like it too." Mia laughed, wringing water from her blazer. "I swear it wasn't even cloudy when I left the coffee shop." Then boom, instant thunderstorm, like someone turned on a fire hose from the sky. She kicked off her waterlogged shoes and peeled off her blazer, tossing it toward the bathroom. Her white shirt was see-through from the rain, but she didn't seem to notice or care. This was Mia, practical above all else. When they were kids, she was the one who'd strip down to her underwear to jump in the creek behind their houses, not caring who might see. "How did the interview go?" Alex asked, handing her a towel. "Terrible," she said, toweling off her hair. "Absolutely terrible. I showed up 15 minutes late because of construction traffic. Then I spilled coffee on my resume in the waiting room. And the interviewer kept checking his phone the entire time." She was pulling off her soaked skirt now, standing in his living room in just her shirt and underwear like it was the most natural thing in the world. Alex looked away, not because he was uncomfortable, but because he wanted to respect her privacy. Though knowing Mia, privacy wasn't something she worried much about. "Sounds rough," he said, heading to his bedroom to find her something dry to wear. "The worst part," she continued, her voice carrying from the living room, "is that I really wanted that job. Marketing coordinator at that new tech startup. Good pay, creative work, nice office downtown. Everything I've been looking for since I graduated." Alex returned with an oversized hoodie and sweatpants. "Here, these should fit. They're clean." "You're a lifesaver," she said, taking the clothes. "Mind if I use your bathroom to change?" "Of course. You know where it is." While she changed, Alex looked out his window. The storm was getting worse. Rain hammered against the glass and lightning lit up the sky every few seconds. Thunder rolled overhead like bowling balls across a wooden floor. No wonder Mia had gotten caught in it. He'd known her for 20 years, since they were both 8 years old and her family moved in next door. They'd been best friends through elementary school, middle school, and high school. They went to different colleges but stayed in touch. After graduation, life got busy. New jobs, new relationships, new responsibilities. They'd see each other at Christmas parties or run into each other at the grocery store. But it wasn't the same as when they were kids. Mia came out of the bathroom wearing his clothes, which were comically large on her small frame. The hoodie hung down to her knees and she'd rolled up the sweatpant leg several times. "I look ridiculous," she said, but she was still smiling that fearless smile. "You look warm and dry," Alex replied. "That's what matters." She flopped down on his couch like she owned the place. "Thanks for letting me crash your evening. I know we don't see each other much anymore." "Are you kidding? You can show up here anytime. Wet, dry, whatever." The truth was, Alex realized he'd missed her. Missed having someone around who knew him before he became whatever he was trying to be as an adult. Someone who remembered when his biggest worry was whether his mom would let him stay up late to watch cartoons. As Mia settled into his couch, Alex couldn't help but notice how naturally she fit into his space. It was like she'd been living there for years instead of just arriving 10 minutes ago, soaking wet and unexpected. She tucked her legs under herself and grabbed one of his throw pillows, hugging it while she talked. "So there I was," she continued, "sitting in this fancy conference room with these 3 serious-looking people in expensive suits. And I'm trying to act professional while coffee is literally dripping off my resume onto their glass table." Alex made them both some hot tea while she talked. Earl Grey for him, chamomile for her. He remembered she liked chamomile when she was stressed. Funny how those little details stick with you even after years of barely seeing someone. "The worst part wasn't the coffee," Mia went on. "It was when the main interviewer asked me why I wanted to work for their company. You know what I said? I said I'd always been passionate about, and then I completely blanked. Just stood there with my mouth open like a fish." "What did you actually say?" Alex asked, bringing her the steaming mug. "I said I was passionate about marketing things." "Marketing things, Alex, that's what came out of my mouth." She buried her face in the pillow. 24 years old, college degree, 3 years of work experience, and I told them I was passionate about marketing things. Alex couldn't help but laugh. Not at her, but because it was so typical of how life worked. You prepare for weeks, you practice your answers, you pick out the perfect outfit, and then everything goes wrong in the most ridiculous way possible. "Did they laugh?" he asked. "Oh, they were very polite about it, but I could see it in their eyes. That look that says, this person is definitely not getting the job." Then the fire alarm went off. A fire alarm? Apparently someone burned popcorn in the office microwave, so we all had to evacuate and stand outside in the rain for 20 minutes, which is when the real storm started. She gestured toward the window where rain was still coming down hard. By the time they said we could go back inside, I looked like I'd been swimming in my clothes. I just thanked them for their time and left. Alex sat down in his armchair across from her. His apartment suddenly felt more alive than it had in months. When Jake lived here, they mostly just nodded at each other in the hallway and split the utility bills. But having Mia here was different. She filled the space with energy and stories and laughter. "You know what's funny?" she said, taking a sip of tea. "I was so nervous about that interview. I practiced my answers for hours. I researched the company history, memorized their mission statement, even looked up the interviewers on social media to see what they were interested in. That's very thorough of you. Maybe too thorough. I think I psyched myself out. Remember when we were kids and we'd have to give presentations at school? I never got nervous then. I'd just get up there and talk about whatever it was. Dinosaurs, the solar system, my summer vacation. No big deal." Alex remembered those presentations. Mia was always the one who volunteered to go first. She'd stand up there in front of the whole class like she was born to be on stage. No notes, no preparation, just pure confidence and enthusiasm. "What changed?" he asked. "I don't know. Growing up, I guess. Somewhere along the way, I started caring too much about what people think. Started worrying about saying the wrong thing or not being good enough." She set down her mug and pulled his hoodie tighter around herself. "When did life get so complicated?" It was a good question. Alex had been wondering the same thing lately. When they were kids, the biggest decision was whether to ride bikes to the park or build a fort in the backyard. Now he spent hours agonizing over work emails and wondering if he was on the right career path, and calculating whether he could afford to live alone. "I think it happened gradually," he said. "Like somewhere between high school and now we forgot how to just be ourselves." "Exactly." Mia's eyes lit up like they used to when she had an idea. "Remember when your parents got that new washing machine and we turned the cardboard box into a spaceship? We spent the entire afternoon flying to different planets and fighting aliens. We didn't worry about whether we looked stupid or if the neighbors could hear us making sound effects. Your alien voice was terrible, by the way. Hey, my alien voice was creative. You just made everything sound like Darth Vader. They both laughed, and for a moment it felt like they were 10 years old again. No job interviews, no rent payments, no complicated adult problems, just two friends hanging out and enjoying each other's company. I miss that, Mia said quietly. I miss feeling that free. Alex looked at her sitting there in his oversized clothes, her hair still damp from the rain. No makeup, no pretense. This was the real Mia. Not the version that showed up to job interviews in perfect business attire, but the one who used to climb trees and wasn't afraid to get dirty. You know what I realized tonight? He said. I've been living alone for 3 months, and this is the first time my apartment has actually felt like home. Really? Really. Jake was a fine roommate, but we never really talked. We were just two people splitting expenses. But having you here, even for just an hour, reminds me what it feels like to have someone around who actually knows me. Mia smiled that fearless smile again, but this time it was softer, more genuine. I know exactly what you mean. I've been so focused on trying to be the person I think I should be that I forgot what it feels like to just be me. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside Alex's small apartment, something warm and comfortable had settled between them. It wasn't romantic or complicated. It was just two old friends rediscovering what they'd always had. The storm showed no signs of stopping. If anything, it was getting worse. Lightning flashed more frequently now, followed by deep rolls of thunder that seemed to shake the whole building. Alex's apartment felt like a small island of warmth and safety in the middle of nature's chaos. Looks like I might be stuck here for a while, Mia said, peering out the window. The streets are probably flooding by now. You're welcome to stay as long as you need, Alex said. I can take the couch if you want the bed. Don't be silly. This couch is perfectly comfortable. Besides, I'm the one who showed up uninvited and dripping wet. They settled in for what was clearly going to be a long night. Alex grabbed some snacks from the kitchen, crackers, cheese, some fruit that was about to go bad. It wasn't fancy, but it felt right somehow, like they were kids again having an impromptu sleepover. Can I ask you something? Mia said, curling up on one end of the couch while Alex sat on the other end. Are you happy with your life right now? It was a big question. The kind of question most people asked but didn't really want an honest answer to. But Mia had always been different. Even as kids, she was the one who asked the hard questions. That's complicated, Alex said finally. I have a decent job, I can pay my bills, I'm healthy. By most measures, I'm doing okay. That's not what I asked. Alex was quiet for a moment, listening to the rain against the windows. No, he said. I'm not happy. I'm not unhappy exactly, but I'm not happy either. I feel like I'm just existing, going through the motions. I get that, Mia said. I feel like I've been pretending to have my life together for so long that I don't even know what I actually want anymore. Like, do I really want to work in marketing? Or is that just what seems like a sensible career choice? What did you want to be when we were kids? A veterinarian, remember? I was going to have a clinic and take care of all the injured animals. You were going to be a firefighter. Alex laughed. I forgot about that. I was obsessed with fire trucks for like 3 years. What happened to those dreams? Life, I guess. Someone told me firefighting was dangerous. Someone else said being a vet required too much school and was too expensive. So I ended up in accounting because it was practical and stable. Do you like accounting? It's fine. It pays the bills. It's not terrible. Even as he said it, Alex realized how depressing that sounded. What about you? What made you switch from veterinarian to marketing? My parents. They kept talking about how competitive vet school was and how much debt I'd have afterward. They said marketing was more realistic. Better job prospects, they said. Mia picked at a loose thread on the throw pillow. But you know what's funny? I'm not even good at marketing. I mean, I can do the work, but I don't love it. I don't wake up excited about creating ad campaigns or analyzing consumer data. So why keep doing it? Because I don't know what else to do. I'm 24. I have student loans and rent and car payments. I can't just quit my job and go back to school to become a vet. That's not how adult life works, right? Says who? The question hung in the air between them. Outside, lightning illuminated the room for a split second, followed by a crash of thunder that seemed to emphasize the point. I mean it, Alex continued. Who decided that's not how adult life works? Who made the rule that you can't change your mind about what you want to do? Society. Common sense. Financial responsibility. Or maybe fear. Mia looked at him sharply. What do you mean? I think we're both scared. Scared of failing, scared of making the wrong choice, scared of what other people will think. So we stay in safe, boring jobs that don't fulfill us because at least they're predictable. That's pretty harsh. But is it wrong? Mia was quiet for a long time, thinking. No, she said finally. It's not wrong. I'm scared. I'm terrified of taking risks because what if I fail? What if I spend all that money on vet school and then discover I'm not smart enough, or I can't handle the pressure, or I don't actually like it as much as I think I will? What if you do like it? What if you're great at it? What if you end up helping animals and loving your job and being genuinely happy? That's a big what if. So is staying miserable in a safe job for the next 40 years. They talked until nearly 3 a.m. About dreams they'd abandoned, fears they'd never spoken out loud, the pressure to have everything figured out by a certain age. Alex found himself sharing things he'd never told anyone, about how lonely he'd been since Jake moved out, about how he sometimes lay awake at night wondering if this was all there was to life, about how he missed feeling passionate about something, anything. Mia opened up too, about how she'd been pretending to be confident and successful, while secretly feeling lost and inadequate, about how exhausting it was to constantly perform the role of having her act together, when inside she felt like a confused kid who didn't know what she was doing. You know what's weird? She said as the storm finally began to quiet down outside. I feel more like myself tonight than I have in years. Even wearing my ridiculously oversized clothes? Especially wearing your ridiculously oversized clothes. No makeup, no business suit, no performance. Just me. Alex looked at his oldest friend curled up on his couch and he realized something. This was what he'd been missing. Not just companionship, but authentic connection. Someone who knew him before he became whatever he was trying to be as an adult. Someone he could be completely honest with. I'm glad you got caught in the rain, he said.
Me too, Mia replied, and her smile was fearless once again.
Alex woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of someone humming in his kitchen. For a moment, he was confused. He was lying on his couch with a blanket he didn't remember getting. Sunlight was streaming through his windows and the storm from last night seemed like a distant memory. Then he remembered. Mia. He sat up slowly, his neck stiff from sleeping on the couch. At some point during their late-night conversation, they must have both dozed off. He could hear her moving around in the kitchen, opening cabinets and running water. It was strange having someone else in his space, but not in a bad way. It was actually kind of nice. Good morning, sleepyhead, Mia called from the kitchen when she heard him stirring. Hope you don't mind that I made coffee. I found your stash in the freezer. That's fine, Alex said, stretching and trying to work out the kink in his neck. What time is it? Almost 9. You were sleeping so peacefully I didn't want to wake you. Alex wandered into the kitchen and found Mia standing at his counter, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. She was still wearing his clothes from last night, the oversized hoodie and rolled-up sweatpants. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she looked completely at home in his kitchen. I hope you don't mind, she said, handing him a steaming mug. I used your shower too. My clothes are in the dryer. Should be ready in about 20 minutes. Of course, make yourself at home. But as Alex sipped his coffee and watched Mia move around his kitchen like she belonged there, he started to notice things he'd missed last night. The way she kept checking her phone and then putting it face down on the counter. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes this morning. The way she seemed to be working a little too hard to act cheerful and normal. You okay? He asked. Yeah, why wouldn't I be? I don't know. You seem different than last night. Mia was quiet for a moment, staring into her coffee cup. Can I tell you something? And promise you won't think I'm pathetic? When have I ever thought you were pathetic? She sat down at his small kitchen table and he joined her. The morning light made everything look softer, more real somehow. Last night wasn't really about the storm, she said quietly. I mean, yes, I got caught in the rain, and yes, your place was the closest. But that's not the whole story. Alex waited for her to continue. I've been having a really hard time lately. Like really hard. The job interview yesterday was my 7th one in 2 months. 7 interviews and I haven't gotten a single offer. Not even a callback. That's rough, but it doesn't mean I got evicted from my apartment. The words hung in the air between them. Alex set down his coffee cup. What? Last week. I'm officially homeless as of next Friday. I've been staying with different friends, but I can't keep doing that forever. Everyone's been really nice about it. but I can see they're getting tired of having me crash on their couches. Alex felt like an idiot. Here he'd been thinking about how nice it was to have company, how much he'd missed their friendship while Mia was dealing with something much more serious. Why didn't you tell me last night? Because I was embarrassed. And because for a few hours talking with you I forgot about everything else. I felt normal again. I felt like me. She wiped her eyes quickly. I'm sorry I didn't tell you the truth right away. Don't apologize. I get it, do you? Because I feel like such a failure. I'm 24 years old and I can't even keep a roof over my head. I have a college degree and 3 years of work experience and I can't find a job. My parents keep calling asking how the job search is going and I keep lying and telling them it's fine. Alex reached across the table and took her hand. You're not a failure. The job market is terrible right now. And sometimes life just hits you with everything at once. That's what everyone says. But it doesn't change the fact that I'm homeless and broke and apparently unemployable. What happened with your apartment? My roommate moved out suddenly 2 months ago. Left me with the full rent, which I couldn't afford on my salary. I tried to find another roommate, but it takes time and the landlord wasn't willing to wait. I got behind on payments and she shrugged. Here we are. Alex felt awful for her, but also confused about something else. Mia, if you needed help, why didn't you call me sooner? We've known each other forever. Because I was embarrassed. Because I thought I could handle it on my own. Because asking for help feels like admitting defeat. She looked up at him. And because we haven't really talked in months, I didn't want to just show up in your life when I needed something. But that's what friends are for. Are we still friends, though? Really? We see each other maybe twice a year. We like each other's social media posts. We say we should hang out more, but we never do. I wasn't sure if we were still close enough for me to lean on you like this. It was a fair point, and it made Alex realize how much he'd let their friendship drift. Not intentionally, but through the gradual neglect that happens when life gets busy and complicated. Last night, Mia continued, when I was walking in the rain after that terrible interview, I was trying to decide which friend to call. Who would be willing to let me crash for the night without making it weird? And I realized I wasn't sure about any of them. Everyone's got their own stuff going on, their own problems. But you came here. Yeah. Because even though we don't talk as much as we used to, you've always been safe. You've never judged me even when I did stupid things. Remember when I dyed my hair purple in high school and it turned out green? Everyone else laughed, but you just said it was an interesting choice. Alex smiled. It was definitely interesting. The point is, I knew I could be myself with you. Even if it had been 5 years since we talked, I knew you'd still be you. Looking at his oldest friend sitting in his kitchen, wearing his clothes and sharing her deepest fears, Alex realized something important. This wasn't just about helping someone out of a tough spot. This was about two people who had somehow found their way back to each other when they both needed it most. The dryer buzzed from the laundry room, signaling that Mia's clothes were ready. But neither of them moved to get them right away. The morning conversation had opened something between them that felt too important to interrupt with practical matters. So what's your plan? Alex asked gently. Honestly, I don't have one. Keep applying for jobs. Hope something comes through before I run out of couches to sleep on. Maybe move back in with my parents if it comes to that. She made a face, which would feel like the ultimate admission that I can't handle adult life. Or it could just be a temporary solution while you figure things out. You sound like my mom. Your mom's pretty smart. Mia laughed. And for the first time that morning, it sounded genuine. She is. But moving home feels like giving up, you know? Like admitting that I was wrong to think I could make it on my own. Alex had been thinking while she talked, and an idea was forming in his mind. It was probably crazy, but maybe crazy was exactly what they both needed. What if you didn't have to move home? He said, what do you mean? I mean, what if you stayed here? I've got a spare bedroom that's just sitting empty. You could stay until you find a job and get back on your feet. Mia stared at him. Alex, I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Actually, I'm practically begging. Do you know how quiet this place has been for the past 3 months? How lonely it's been eating dinner by myself every night and having no one to talk to? But we haven't lived in the same house since we were kids. What if we drive each other crazy? What if we don't? What if it's exactly what we both need right now? The idea was growing on Alex as he spoke. Last night had reminded him of something he'd forgotten. what it felt like to have real companionship. Not just someone to split bills with, but someone who actually knew him and cared about his day. "I don't have money for rent right now," Mia said quietly. "I'm not worried about money. I've been paying the full rent anyway since Jake moved out. Having you here wouldn't cost me anything extra. I can't just freeload. You wouldn't be freeloading. You could help with groceries, cleaning, whatever. But honestly, having someone to come home to would be payment enough for me." Mia got up and walked to the window, looking out at the street below. The storm had washed everything clean and the morning sun made the wet pavement sparkle. "What would people think?" she asked. "What people?" "I don't know, people, friends, family. A man and woman living together without being married or dating." "Since when do you care what other people think?" Alex asked. "Last night you were telling me how tired you are of living your life based on what everyone expects." She turned back to face him. "You're right. I am tired of that. Besides, we're not strangers. We've known each other for 20 years. If anyone has a problem with two old friends helping each other out, that says more about them than it does about us. What about dating? What if one of us meets someone? Then we'll figure it out when it happens. Everything doesn't have to be planned out perfectly in advance." Mia came back to the table and sat down. "You're really serious about this?" "Dead serious. Mia, last night was the first time in months that I felt like myself. The first time I laughed, really laughed. The first time I had a real conversation about something that mattered. I've been so focused on just getting through each day that I forgot what it felt like to actually enjoy life." "And you think having me around would help with that?" "I think we could help each other. You need a place to stay and time to find the right job, not just any job. I need someone to remind me that there's more to life than work and sleep and paying bills. Maybe we both need someone who knew us before we got so worried about being adults that we forgot how to be happy." The dryer buzzed again, more insistently this time. "I should get my clothes," Mia said, but she didn't get up. "They can wait another minute." "Alex, are you sure about this? Because if you're just being nice, if you feel sorry for me..." "I'm not being nice. I'm being selfish. I want you to stay because it would make my life better. The fact that it would help you out too just makes it a good deal for both of us." Mia was quiet for a long moment thinking. Finally, she looked up at him with that fearless smile he remembered from childhood. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Okay, yes. Let's do it. Let's be roommates." Alex felt a surge of excitement mixed with relief. "Really? Really? But I have conditions and I name them. First, I pull my weight. I get a job as soon as possible and contribute to expenses. Second, we're honest with each other. No pretending everything's fine when it's not. Third, we remember that we're friends first. If living together starts to hurt our friendship, we figure out another arrangement." "Deal," Alex said immediately. "Any other conditions?" "Just one more. We stop apologizing for needing each other. Friends are supposed to be there for each other, right? So let's actually be friends." They shook hands across the kitchen table, but then both started laughing, because it felt too formal for what they were agreeing to. "I can't believe I'm about to be roommates with the girl who used to make me play house and always insisted on being the mom," Alex said. "I can't believe I'm about to be roommates with the boy who used to eat paste and thought it was a food group. I was 6 and it was only twice. 3 times. I counted." As Mia finally went to get her clothes from the dryer, Alex looked around his apartment and realized it already felt different, not just because someone else was here, but because it suddenly felt full of possibility again, like maybe this was the beginning of something good for both of them. Sometimes the best things in life came disguised as problems that needed solving, and sometimes the answer to your loneliness was as simple as offering shelter to an old friend caught in a storm.